All right, and with that, I'd like to welcome you here to Canton, Ohio for this installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, part of the Hall of Famer series. Today, we're lucky enough to have Mr. Robert Brazile here live in Canton, Ohio. As you can see, I have an empty seat here next to me. So here, in just a few minutes, that special guest, Mr. Brazile, will be sitting right here talking to you guys all across the country about the game of football, about the Hall of Fame, and the important values that the game of football teaches. My name is Jake, and I'll be moderating this session today. Our mission here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the heroes of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence everywhere. The values that we promote and we will be touching on and talking about today are the values of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence. All values we believe are not only important in the game of football, but in the game of life as well. I'm excited. Hopefully you guys are as well today, as you get to hear how these values, along with many others, affected Mr. Brazile's playing career, not only on the field, but off the field as well. However, before we get started, I do have a few people I'd like to thank. First off, I'd like to thank our folks over there at Extreme Networks for all that they do for us here at the Hall of Fame and for all that they do for schools across the country. Without their help and their support, this program could not happen today. Secondly, I'd like to thank our teachers for opening their classrooms today for us to come into and talk about the values of the game and talk about Mr. Brazile's career in the game of football and how important it is in today's society. Lastly, I need to thank maybe most importantly, need to thank our students. Without you guys today, this program is not going to happen. You guys are the ones asking the questions today to learn a little bit about Mr. Brazile and his career. We do have a little special guest. I'd like to turn things over to Jerry Shockey, who's the Director of Youth and Education here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, with that special guest. Jerry, you there?
Yes, I am, Jake. Thank you very much. And I'm joined here in our Pro Football Today gallery with Gold Jacket, Robert Brazile. Robert, how's it feel to be back in Canton, Ohio?
I feel like I'm back at home, man. You know, in my speech, I'm finally at home. I am at home. You know, when I walked through the airport, I got here and you know, when I got to my hotel room, they gave me the same hotel room I was in when I got in back. So I know I feel like, now you go come back to your house, your mom said, that's your room. In the Canton, I got a room at the Holiday Inn. It's room 343. I feel so good to be back at home. It's such an honor to be back.
Well, we are honored to have you here. And shortly, we're going to be walking down to our video conferencing labs. You can interact with students from all across the country. What do you hope that they gain from this experience today, Heart of a Hall of Famer?
You know, being a teacher, I taught school for years down in Mobile. I hope that we can open up and learn something from each other. You know, the thing about learning is two sides to that. The people that you're trying to get to learn something, the people that's presenting it. I want to learn something about these kids today that I've never known before, and I want them to learn something about me that they never knew before.
All right, well, we're going to go do that. Jake, back to you.
All right, thanks, Jerry. And like we said, we're going to learn a little bit about Mr. Brazile's career today and what he went through and the things he did to make him not only the football player, the Hall of Famer that he is today, but also the man that he is, the father that he is, and how important those values are. But before we get started and before we bring Mr. Brazile in here to start taking your questions, I do want to show you guys a quick video on just how good Mr. Brazile was on the field.
All of us know how important knocks and telephone calls could be to a football player. For me, I experienced them both, the knocks and the phone calls. One of the best telephone calls I ever got was when I was at Jackson State in Mississippi. At that time, Walter Payton was bringing scouts all over to our practice. This turned out to be great for Walter and me because we was making history. 2 first-round draft picks from a historical black college and university. The 75 draft phone call was also important because it brought me in contact with Bud Adams and his family. It gave me a second father in Barn Phillips. Barnes' philosophy in life and in football was every man get a man and every man get, you're right too, In 1985, the Houston Oilers was right here in Canton. We were to play the New York Giants in the Hall of Fame game. But after 10 Ironman seasons, never missing a game and starting every game, I got that knock on the door. It was an assistant coach telling me that the head coach wanted to see me. This would be one of the most difficult knocks that I would ever hear in my life. The head coach told me that I was not going to start. They had decided to go with the younger ball players, the ones I had mentored that whole summer. This knock destroyed me. I fell out of love with football for the first time in my life. This knock sent me and my son Trey back to Whistler, Alabama, where my family, my community, and my church welcomed me home. Back in August, when the phone call came from Dave Baker, the Senior Hall of Fame committee, and a few Hall of Famers, I began to hope and pray that football might be ready to love me back. So, Mr. Hall of Famer Kenny Houston, Earl Campbell, Evan Bethea, Curly Cup, Munchak, Jackie Slater, Lim Bunny, Warren Moon, Ricky Jackson, my man Lawrence Taylor, and my class of 2018 Pro Football Hall of Fame. When Dave knocked on my door, all of my dreams came true. And after all these years, I'm at home.
Truly one of the great players and great men of the game. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Robert Brazile here to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Mr. Brazile, I want to first thank you for coming, taking time out of your busy schedule to be here in Canton, Ohio. Back home, like you said, for the first time after being in Triumph.
To be here, I'm just so happy, so lucky. I hope we both can learn something today. I want to learn a little bit about you. I want you to learn a little bit more about me. So good morning.
All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to turn things over to our students out here, and we're going to start with our students over there at Agnor Hurt Elementary. I'm going to go ahead and unmute your mic, so if you guys have a question, go ahead and step up to your microphone.
All right, let's have Hassan. Can I have Hassan? Oh, sure. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you got five.
We'll do.
Okay.
All right, let's do Hassan first, and then we'll.
Hassan.
Come on, Hassan. Okay.
Was your nickname actually Dr. Doom?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. What's your name again? What's your name, Deshaun?
Hassan.
Hassan? I like to meet everybody when I'm talking to. Because my nickname was given to me back in the college all-star game. Now they don't have the college all-star game, but back then, the college all-star would play the Super Bowl champion. So you take all the senior ball players out of college to play the Super Bowl champion. In Chicago one morning, before going to practice, all the other linebackers had a nickname. You had the guy from SC, which his name was Richard Wood. His name was Batman. You had another guy they called Crazy Man. All the other linebackers had nicknames. I was just plain Robert Brazile Jr., which I thought was a pretty good name. My dad gave it to me. But that morning, we was eating breakfast. Richard looked in the Chicago Tribune, which is in the comics section. There's a comic named Dr. Doom. He said, man, that's a good nickname. With that name fits you. Sitting over in the corner was a guy, a commentator. His name was Howard Cosell. Howard Cosell said, yes, and it fits him. And I said, Howard, how do that name fit me? He said, take the Doom part. Death on offensive men. And I thought about it. I said, that ain't bad, pretty good nickname for an old man like me. So I took it, and Howard took it on that Monday night, and ran. It's been with me all up to today.
It's not a bad nickname. It's not a bad one to have on your career. So thanks for that question. Next question we're going to go out to our students at Roxborough. I go ahead. I got your mic unmuted. Go ahead, and if there's a student out there that has a question for Mr. Brazil.
What are some situations or events that took?
Joe, tell him your name because he said he wanted to know. My name's Joe.
My name's Joe. I have a question.
Good morning, Joe.
What are some situations or events that took place in your life that would say had a significant impact on your character?
Joe, if you heard my speech, I'm going to go back to the speech again because it's something that when I was talking about the knocks and the telephone calls, I had played 10 Ironman seasons. I never missed a game, never missed a practice, and it was a starter. 2 hours before the game at the Hall of Fame game, which I had a good friend of mine, which was named Lawrence Taylor, playing on the other side of the field. We had talked, and we was telling how good we was going to, we bragging about who was going to be the best. Was it going to be the Lawrence Taylor show or the Robert Brazile show? I was eager to show this young man that I was better than him. I get a knock on the door. It was an assistant coach telling me that I wasn't going to start. It literally killed me. I was so hurt. I cried like a baby. And from that day, from that period, I retired from football. But I just fell out of love with football. So I moved back home, and it took years up until back when Ray Lewis started playing. I was at my mama's house one day, and I was finna walk out the door. Every Sunday we'd go by there and have Sunday dinner. I was finna walk up. She said, hey, sit down. I said, Mother, I don't want to watch no football. She said, sit down. And like a kid that follows your mama and dad's orders, I sat down. In 3 plays, Ray Lewis made me fall in love with football again because he was wearing number 52, and the job that he was doing made me feel good because the guy was wearing number 52.
All right, that was you stole one of my questions from me. Here you talk a little bit about your career and how the knocks and the phone calls and how Ray impacted your career. What was it like to be enshrined as a member of the class of 2018 with him? And did he know that story going into the weekend, or is that something he learned when he was here in August?
He learned it when he was here, when I told Ray the story, because I told him that my mom was one of his biggest fans. And he said, what you mean about that? I said, he thought she would have been my biggest fan. I said, no, she just loved the number 52. Everybody can't wear 52. She sees somebody on the sideline. She said, he need to take that number off because he need to be on the field playing because you can't wear number 52 on the sideline. When I told Ray the story, he literally hugged me and we both cried because it was just that touching. And to be able to go in with a guy that made me fall back in love and that I admired as a football player, it felt so good. And we're going to take that and take it around the world. That's a good story to tell.
That's a great story, and it was cool to hear it in person and see you guys interact the entire week. So next question we're going to go back out to our students. We're going to go over to Purcell, where you guys go ahead and step up to the mic and ask Mr. Brazile a question.
What was your reaction to becoming a Hall of Famer?
What's your name, sir?
Connor Dean.
Hunter. I say the question one more time for Mr. Brazile?
What was your reaction to becoming a Hall of Famer?
Hunter, you ever wanted something for Christmas and you never got it?
Yep.
Huh? Well, for 34 years, every year someone will come to me and say, this is your year. And for 34 years, I waited. And when I got the phone call, I cried like a baby, Hunter, because it was something I wanted, not just for me. I got 2 living parents, both 86 years old, and I want them to witness me being inducted to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So it was more than excitement. It's the best Christmas and the best year that I ever had was this year when I got inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This pretty gold jacket that I wear every day, and I'm waiting on the ring in October. It's still a great flight to travel with.
All right, we're going to go back to our students over there at Agnor Hurd Elementary. You guys have another question there for Mr. Brazile?
Dylan, come on up. Wait. Okay, yeah, one question. Here we go. You got it.
Have you ever dealt with bullying?
What was the question?
Have you ever dealt with bullying?
That's a good question, young man. I was thinking about that. I think the Pro Football Hall of Fame needs to set up a hotline for a kid that is being bullied. You could call me and I come to that city and we're straightening that bully out. No, I have. Back in Mobile, back in the 70s and the 60s, they was trying to integrate the schools back then. I was one of the first to go to my high school. It was only 5 blacks at a 3,000 student number of students at this high school. And every day for like 2 or 3 years, I was bullied. I had to be escorted to my classes with what's the guys from the Army? National Guard. Yes. So it was also a challenge. I had to maintain my respect for others. You know, I had to stay committed to what I was at school for. But I had been bullied, and it was one of the best things I think that happened to me because I grew up fast, man. I had to grow up fast.
All right, kind of paying attention here to our live audience tuning in. We do have a question here from Facebook. It said, for youth playing the game today, you know, they may be discouraged if they're not getting all the playing time they want or playing the position they want. Do you have any advice for someone who's playing either high school or youth football, if they may not be in the position they want to be in, how to maintain their love for the game?
Well, from my standpoint and to the kid, I would tell the kid, being a part of something, being out there meeting a new friend, being out there getting to do something different other than being with your family members. You need to share the time that you have with not just people in your family. You need to share it may be something secret. It may be that something that you could help another guy down the line. So enjoy the time that you're out on the field, but also enjoy that relationship that you have meeting someone.
All right, next question we have, we're going to go back to our students over there at Roxborough. You guys have another question there for Mr. Brazile?
Introduce yourself first.
They're coming.
They're coming.
Hi, my name is Jenny, and my question is, what is your favorite game that you've ever played?
What's your name again, Jane?
Jenny.
Jenny, thanks for being one of the first ladies to step up to the mic. And I'm a pretty good tennis player also. You know, me and my wife plays doubles, mixed doubles, and I'm a 3-5 tennis player, and we can beat all our kids. So my other sport, I always told people if I had picked up a racket, I'd probably been one of the better tennis player than I was football player.
Now, out of your entire football career, is there a game that sticks out above the rest as maybe one you either played the best in or that may be your favorite from your career?
I think the one that sticks to my mind is the Pittsburgh game. You know, when you talk about the values, and you talk about what the pro football stands for, when you talk about persevering, and you're talking about commitment, and you're talking about teamwork, you're talking about respect, you're talking about courage. That Pittsburgh game, we had a bad call. It was proven that was a bad call, which led to now what we call instant replay. As a leader on that team, I did not get my guys to persevere, to get over that. And this was the closest I ever got to a Super Bowl. So I would say the Pittsburgh game that we did not come back on the second half and play football. We were still arguing against the referee, which was, it's not about the Houston Oilers. We was a team that normally would get over that, but that really hurt a bunch of guys. That's the reason why we don't have a Super Bowl ring.
All right, next question. We're going to go back to our students over there at Purcell. You guys, I'm going to ahead and unmute your mic. You guys have another question for Mr. Brazile?
Yep.
Who is the toughest player you ever went up against in every football game you've ever played in your whole career? Who is the toughest player?
Well, I got two. First of all, giving Walter Payton all the credit in the world. I went to a college in Jackson State, and I met a guy, and I had some great habits that I had practiced all of my life. Then when I'm sneaking out the dorm to go work out after curfew, Walter is sneaking out the dorm going, and I say, well, look, let's put the stuff together. So to answer your question, Walter Payton, and the reason why I say that because of his work habit, and it was a challenge every day for me and him to practice against each other, play against each other, sleep in the same room against each other. Walter played all kind of pranks on people. I mean, you'll wake up and he'll have your shoes tied up to somebody else's shoes down the hall, or some lotion or something down in your other left shoe. So he was always a prankster. So I would say the hardest person every day to get physically ready for would have been Walter Payton.
Speaking of Walter Payton, a list of guys here: Lem Barney, Walter Payton, Jackie Slater, and yourself all have two things in common: the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
That is so true.
And Jackson State. So how was it to come from a school with that legacy, but also play with a guy like Walter Payton or Jackie Slater?
A blessing. I would say it was a blessing. You know, I left Mobile and came to Jackson State. And man, it was so many great athletes. And when you talk about the SWAC, when I say the SWAC was the SEC back then, as it is, as you see the SEC today. When you go to Grambling, you got 4 guys in the Hall of Fame from Grambling. Or you go to Southern, you got Inez, and all these guys are already in the Hall of Fame. So it was such an honor to be on it. And it was some guys that was overlooked. I still think if Leon Gray was alive, come on, man. Him and John Hanna played side by side each year. And Jackie Slater would tell you Leon Gray should deserve to be in the Hall of Fame from Jackson State. Or if you look at Grambling, some more guys down there that's been overlooked. Emerson Walls. Emerson Walls came up as a finalist. So we was ready when we left Jackson. When I got to the pros, and Bob Phillip had his first week of practice, and I said, I don't know how I'm going to stay in shape. Because I was not used to such a governor down, watered down practice. Because but I was the type of guy that, I'm a workaholic, man. You know, I get up every morning at 3:30. 4 o'clock, I'm at the wild, either walking with these bad hips in that water, trying to get my muscles strong and ready. But that's the type of ball play, that's the type of energy we took to the game every day.
All right, so you would say you were inducted as a member of the class of 2018, and when you're inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you get 3 iconic symbols. You get the K. Jewelers Ring of Excellence, which you said you're going to be getting here in August. You get the Hager gold jacket that you're wearing today, and then you get that bronze bust, maybe the most iconic piece for somebody inducted into the Hall of Fame, that bronze bust that's going to last here in Canton, Ohio, your second home for over 40,000 years. So long after you and I are gone, that bronze bust is still going to be right here in Canton, Ohio.
Yes, I think yesterday we lost a member out of the Hall of Fame, Mr. McDonald. Mm-hmm. But he's not. He would be here now. He'll be here at the Hall. That bus will always be here. His memories, his history, I mean, everything he did for the game will be here. And I think that's the most unique thing about this. You know, you talk about the gold jacket. Actually, this is a Barbie gold jacket. I still haven't got my gold jacket, and that's another story. And I haven't got my ring yet, but that bus, you know, my mom and dad still talk about it. My dad said, I mean, it was hard to tell him, Dad, we cannot take that home. He wanted to take everything home. I said, this is the one they keep at the Hall of Fame. I got to go, so at night I can go down there and whisper and talk to Walter in his ear, and talk to the rest of the guys in there. But it was a story trying to get my dad not to pay to leave that bus up here in Canton, y'all. So speaking of your bus, we got Jerry Shockey, like I said, the Director of Youth Education, live again in our Hall of Fame gallery, standing next to that bus that your dad wanted to take home. So Jerry, are you there?
Yes, I am, Jake. And as you can see right beside me, that Mr. Brazile was not able to take that bus home with him, that it's still firmly planted here in Canton, Ohio. And students, I just want you to realize you guys have been asking some amazing questions of Mr. Brazile today. But what I want you to realize is just how special and unique this bronze bus is. If you think about, since the game began, there have been about 300 million people that have played the game at all levels. There have been about 5 million that have played the game at the collegiate level. There have been 29,000 that have been paid to play the game at the professional level, whether it's to play, coach, officiate, or administrate the game. But there are only 318 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, as you see here with Mr. Robert Brazile. Brazile attended Jackson State University and was drafted 6th overall in the 1975 draft by the Houston Oilers. He made an instant impact with the team, earning Defensive Rookie of the Year and helped the Oilers to a 10-4 record. In 1978, he registered a career-best 185 tackles, helping the Oilers make the playoffs that year. He was an All-Pro 5 times and was selected to 7 Pro Bowls. To top it all off, he was named to the NFL's All-Decade Team of the 1970s. As you can tell, Robert Brazile had an outstanding career, culminating with the top honor in professional football, and that's being enshrined here into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Jake, back to you.
35 years, right? Is how long you had to wait?
34
years. So after all that long wait, what has been the best moment you've had as a member of the Hall of Fame, and was it worth that wait?
Yes, it was worse. And people always, I run across people now, they say, you should have been, you deserve, and you this, and you that. I said, I go back to what I believed in as a kid. And, growing up as a Baptist in New Life Baptist Church down in Pritchard, there's a time and a season for everything. And my season was 2018 in August. And the biggest thing about that, man, I have 2 living parents. 2 living parents. I want you to just let that sink in. Mm-hmm. And they're both 86 years old. But them to enjoy this, to witness this. I don't know if I'd have got it 10 years ago, how I feel, but I know how I feel right now. That feel, and it feels so good that and the emotions that went with that, for your dad to go through what he'd been through. And I got word because of the cancer that he had to go through, that he wasn't going to be around to see this, but to witness my dad. I tell people about this gold jacket. I never got a hug. You from the South. I don't know about Ohio. Men's don't hug men's. Men's don't kiss men. I never got a hug from my dad, and I'm 65 years old. But I promised myself I was going to get a hug and a kiss when he gave me that jacket. So it was such an honor and such a blessing, and it was very emotional. Then when I think about it now, I still get the chills the same when I got this gold jacket. So when you think about all of that, man, you put it all in the bundle. And I still have a surprise. When they give me my ring, it's been traditional that the wives get a certain thing. My wife Brenda has a surprise coming.
Oh.
And I want her.
We don't want to spoil it yet. Don't want to spoil that yet.
I think that the wives get a pendant. I'm thinking, but things change. But I hope that she's going to get a pendant. Yeah. And I want her to feel this because Brenda's been such moral support, and she's worked so closely with the Hall. Y'all need to hire her.
All right, with that, we're going to go back to our students out here. We're going to start with our students there at Agnell Hurd Elementary. You guys go ahead and bring a student up. Ask another question here for Mr. Brazile.
How do you feel about having a healthy diet?
What's your question again, love? And will you please tell me your name?
Aw, you're telling your name? Jaden.
And good morning, Jaden. How you doing?
Good.
Now, what was your question?
How do you feel about having a healthy diet?
I think that is so important. First of all, that you would ask that question. Kids today is very hard. I got some grandkids probably your age and younger, so it's hard to get a proper nutritious meal on the table. My wife always said, from the dog up until me, you got a special diet that we didn't keep our French bulldog on. My son got a French bulldog, so he's on a special diet. I think it's very important. First of all, you need the nutrition that you need to make a healthy kid or a full kid is a smart kid to me. And I feel like that if you don't get enough nutrition, you're hurting yourself. So we strive at 263 Woodland Avenue to have a proper meal put on the table every day at every meal. Now, we do eat pieces and all the rest of the stuff that goes. We do have fun. Our kids do have fun, but we do eat right and proper all the time. We practice that.
Always important, right?
Always
made
important.
You the Hall of Fame you are today, right?
You got it.
All right. Next, we're going to go out to our students over there at Roxborough. You guys have another question here to ask Mr. Brazile. Go ahead and step up to the mic.
Uh-oh.
Water bottle. Sorry.
That's okay. I get that fumble.
Introduce yourself.
Say how I get it.
Who was the hardest person to tackle?
What's your name, son?
Declan.
What did he say?
What was your name again, bud?
Declan.
I want to ask you that question. Why did you ask me that question?
I don't know.
I think you do.
Declan, tell him you're a football player.
I'm a football player.
I think that's the reason why. I can see the football in you. Jacqueline, that is a very good question, first of all. I played with some of the best running backs in the whole world. I've also slept with some of the best running backs in the world. Walter Payton was my roommate in college, and Earl Campbell was my roommate when I was in Houston, and we used to visit other teams. And I would say they was two of the best running backs and two of the hardest people to tackle because of their workmanship, the things that they put in the game. These guys was committed to the game. They had integrity, they had courage, they had all the things that made them an Hall of Famer. So those two, I would think. There's been some pretty good running backs I still like to take a shot at. I like to take a shot at the guy from Dallas. What's his name? Ezekiel. Ooh, I like to take one more shot at him.
All right. Thank you for that question. Next question we're going to have are from our students there at Purcell. Go ahead, and I'm going to get your mic unmuted here. Go ahead and step up to the mic and ask Mr. Brazile a question.
My name is Jabe, and what do you think it takes to be in the Hall of Fame?
Jabe?
Yeah.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good, and you?
What made you pick that question?
Well, I just wanted to know what you think it takes to, make it into the Hall of Fame.
First of all, it's a good question. If you look at the number of people that's in the Hall of Fame, Jacqueline, and a number of people that played this game, I know the guy a few minutes ago was giving you statistics of the number of people. There are only 318 guys that has a gold jacket. And if you look at each one of their career and you ask each one of them about their career, and if you did the history, you will find they all had some of these qualities. They were committed to the game. They had integrity. They had courage, they respected, and they all was excellent at what they did. So those are some, if you look at the values of the Hall of Fame, that's what make you a Hall of Fame. Now, there's other things that go along with that, but I think that's the base behind the Hall of Fame that's here with me today.
They mentioned those 5 values are our Hall of Fame values, those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence.
That's the truth to it.
Not only helping you on the field, becoming a better player, but helping you off the field as well. So you talked a little bit about the beginning about your coach Bum Phillips there that you had with the Oilers. You think of the Oilers, you think of those baby blue uniforms and those iconic colors, that iconic logo. So can you talk a little bit about the what they called the Love You Blue movement that the Oilers had when you played with them?
Well, back in '75 when I was drafted to the Oilers, that was another team in the state of Texas. It was the Dallas Cowboys. And they was America's team. America's team. And not just Texas team, they were America's team. When I got there, there was very few fans. That was true. Houston Hall of Fame. Bum came in with a cowboy hat, a couple of guys that could really play some pretty good football. We had a quarterback named Dan Pastorini. We had other Hall of Famers like Curly Cub, Evan Bethea, Kenny Houston, all these guys, and a guy named Earl Campbell. There was something going on down there in the Astrodome that Texas hadn't experienced. It was a group of guys holding on to the rope, as we called it, and playing the Love You Blue song, Love, the Houston Oilers song, which I'm talking about. And it just blew up. I mean, I think I can see the pom-poms and Albert Cosell saying, this is like a circus atmosphere here in the Astrodome. You got the Houston Oilers and the Love You Blue people singing the Houston all the song over and over. So that blew up out there. So that was the impact on the city. We was trying to win our fans back. And the only way that we can get our fans were to win. You know, we took it upon ourselves and said that if we want our fans, we got to prove to them that we deserve them. And so we went on the winning streak, and then Houston all just blew up.
Did it help you on the field, to help the team on the field, to have you talked about the pom-poms and the singing and the cheering? Did that help you guys on the field?
You know, if you look at football players, you ask football players, actually just frustrated movie stars. You know? So it takes an audience for us to perform in front. So, yeah, it really helped. The answer to your question, yes, it really helped to have those fans that cheering us on, having a sellout crowd, and we're all pulling for us.
Always helps, right?
Always helps.
All right, we're going to go back to our students here. We're going to have the students here from Agnor Hurd Elementary ask another question. Go ahead and step up to the microphone and get ready to ask your question.
Hi, my name is Raina. I was wondering, have you ever had like a coach or a teacher who was having like a rough time with you, and how would you like deal with that?
Your question was if I had a coach or a teacher that I was having a rough time with that person or myself.
Yeah, was a teacher having a rough time with you or something? And like, how would you deal with that?
Me being a teacher, I'm going to give you my motto for 28 years that I took to the Mobile Public School system. I believe in the 3 B's plus 1. I wanted my kid, first of all, be on time. Number 2, be prepared. Number 3, be respectful. If you brought that into my classroom every day, you get the other B, which is Mr. Brazile. And I want to, if you had all of those characteristics and all those things that you brought to my classroom, I was there for you. I had your back. If you needed something, I want to be that brother or that father or that mentor that you needed in the classroom as well as out of the classroom. So I would say that if you wanted someone to how I would answer your question was to be saying, deal with that kid one-on-one and keep the trust and the faith with that kid.
Was there anything you learned from the game of football that you took and used in the classroom as a teacher?
Everything. I mean, I took everything that I learned in the classroom on the football field. Then I turned around and used it back out on the field, back in the classroom.
Full circle.
Full circle. You know, I was born and raised the oldest of 3 boys. My mom and dad, with me being the oldest, put a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. I had to set the example for my brothers. I had to be their big brother. I also had to be the one that led them down the right path. So, and I also had to be the one that helped my parents. I had my parents back. I can remember them tell this short story. I was 16 years old, and I had an uncle that came to Mobile, Alabama from Massachusetts. And when he got down to Mobile, he got sick. That means my mom and dad was trying to get him back home. So they left me in charge. You got to understand, I'm 16 years old. I'm in charge of the whole house for a week and a half. And if you look at it nowadays, you know, parents get locked up for doing something like that. But I was that type of kid that my parents trusted me enough to know. I had grandmamas and uncles all living around me, but I was in charge of the house for a whole week. That showed that I had some type of leadership in me.
Awesome. Awesome. It's a cool story to show that you can take what you learn in life and learn in the game and apply it to the others.
That is so true.
All right, we're going to go back out to our students here at Roxborough. Go ahead. I'm going to unmute your mic here. You guys got another question for Mr. Brazile. Go ahead and step up to the mic and ask your question.
Have you ever? My name is Luke. Have you ever felt like you didn't fit in because of your size?
Have you ever felt like you didn't fit in because you were that big football player?
No, I never felt that way. I only feel that way if I'm standing in the crowd or at a concert or in line in the grocery line with a load of groceries. I always thought my size was an asset. I could outrun most of the guys that was smaller than me. I could jump most of the guys that were smaller than me, and I was a pretty good athlete. I kept a pretty good GPA in class, so my size had nothing to do with what I could learn inside this big old head.
All right, our next question here, we're going to go back to the students there. Purcell, go ahead and step up to the microphone if you guys, and ask your question to Mr. Brazil.
My name is Brianna, and my question is, how do you feel the leadership roles on the football field and in the business world are similar?
Thank you for that question. And I want to ask you one question. What type of leadership role do your parents put you through daily? Me growing up as a kid, there's certain things I had to do. My mama made sure that before I came out that bedroom to come eat breakfast before I went to school, I had to show some leadership to my two brothers, first of all, about making my bed up. Second of all, was by going to the restroom, preparing myself, getting dressed. We all worked together as a group, but I think I was the leader because I was the oldest and the fastest out of the three boys, and it helped me over in life also. If you know Robert Brazile, if you ask any of my teammates, or if you ask anybody about me, I'm probably going to be the first person in the line for practice. I'm going to be the first one in line to go eat. I'm going to be the first one to go to sleep because I go to sleep about 7:30, 8 o'clock every night because I like getting up about 3:30 in the morning. So that played a big role in my life about being a leader, leading by example, I would say.
All right, I think we got time here to go through one more round of questions from everybody. So we're going to send it back to Agnor Hurd Elementary. You guys got one final question here for Mr. Brazile?
How do you think you deal with failure?
How do you deal with failure?
Yeah.
Deal with failure is like a win-loss value. Try to persevere the way looking for you. You want to get over it and correct it. Everyone make mistakes. But that you're not held accountable for their failure. You got to recognize that you failed and correct it. I deal with it because the way I deal with it, first of all, I recognize that I made a mistake. Then I go somewhere and I think about it and I say, I could do better about that mistake. I got to make that right with that person or with the thing that, I want to go I want to keep it down on your level. But for instance, I have 6 kids. Out of the 6, one may do something and I made a mistake by charging against the other kid. I got to go to that my son or my daughter and say, I am sorry. I made a mistake. And that's how I correct it, by saying I take full responsibility, full accountability for my action toward that person.
So you got to learn from your mistakes, right?
You
take what you've done, you learn how to apply it next time.
Right. You got to correct it.
All right, next question. We're going to send it over to Roxborough. You guys have one final question here for Mr. Brazile. Go ahead and step up to the microphone and ask your question.
Hi, I'm Anne, and how do you feel as an adult that you are continuing to shape your character?
How do I feel as an adult and that I'm keeping my character? And growing up in Mobile again, I keep going back to my hometown and Whistler and Pritchett. I grew up as a Baptist, what I believe in. My mom and dad asked us to go. They didn't make us go to church. They asked us to go to church. And I enjoyed going to Sunday school. And I still do it today. And it still keeps my character when I can sit there and listen to these senior deacons and other members of the Sunday school class just respect each other, the way they handle themselves every day on every Sunday. And I take that into my everyday life. I mean, I build my character with my neighbors. I build a character with the guy I'm going fishing on his boat or if he's on my boat. It's stuff that you show or you do every day. It's not that something you just put the little finger on it.
All right, with that, we're going to go back to Purcell for your guys' last question here for Mr. Brazile. You guys go ahead and step up to the microphone there, Purcell, and ask your question.
My name is Aubrey, and how old were you when you started playing football, and what made you want to play?
What's your name again?
Aubrey.
Aubrey, that's a pretty name.
Thank
Aubrey,
you.
I grew up in Mobile, Alabama. In Mobile, Alabama, it's a baseball city. You know, we got Hall of Famer like Hank Aaron, Tommy A.G., Satchel Paige, all these guys on the other side in baseball are gold jackets. And I was scared of that curveball. And I had one uncle, his name was Odell Vander. He tried all his best to make me a baseball player. And I kept telling him, there's got to be something else I could do. I just can't sit there and let nobody throw no ball at me. And I duck or try to hit it back. So I turned all of my energy to football. And at the age of, I think it was 7, we started a miniature, what we call a midget football team that I was on in Pritchard, Alabama. And I was just, you know, they would give me the ball and I would just be dragging people down the field, everybody trying to tackle me. So after a while, I started to learn how to be on the other side of the football, and people were actually scared of me when I got to be the age of 10, the way I would hit them so hard. And my uncle told my mother and dad that, y'all better watch that boy. He gonna turn into something the way he loved that game of football. And that's how I got started at the age of 9 in Pritchard, Alabama.
All right, now I got one last question for you. I'm going to read off a list of some here. So we have the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2018, the Black College Football Hall of Fame in 2014, Jackson State Hall of Fame in 2003, and the SWAC Hall of Fame in 1995. Could say you probably had a decent career, right?
I think I did some things right.
And what do those honors, deep down, what do those honors mean to you?
First of all, we're going to take each and every one of them. It meant that I was a person that loved the game of football. I gave it my all at every level. I enjoyed doing it. And to top it off, when I say this gold jacket, and to be Hall of Famer, 312. Hall of Famer, 312. You know, I bought myself a Sprinter, and on the front of it, it's got 312. Nothing else but 312. And people say, what that mean? I say, you got to do the research before I give you the answer. So to me, it was such, when you put so much into the game, and I'm gonna go back again to when I got the knock on the door, how I fell out of love with football. When I was enshrined and given that number, 312, it answered all of my prayers. That football was saying, Robert, thank you for all the hard work and all the effort you put into it. So I am so happy to be 312. So, and to have this, whenever I get my original gold jacket,
that's right.
We'll talk about that on another show.
That's right.
And to get my ring, you know. I'm so eager, and I want to say to you and to all these kids out here, it is such an honor to be back and to be recognized as a Hall of Fame. It's a whole different feeling. You have to be in my shoes to realize how good it feels to be Robert Brazile, Hall of Famer, 312. My parents, my family, my kids are all different. They all are very, very proud of me. I answer all the questions to all the critics that he's in Hall of Fame. Now, I am a Hall of Fame.
Awesome. So we definitely appreciate you coming back and sharing your time today. Before we close out, do you have any last remarks you'd like to share here with everybody?
Yes, I would like to say thank you to each and every one of my kids that's out there. And guys, I know it's things that's on your mind, but if you ever need someone, look up Hall of Famer 312. I want to leave my number at the Hall of Fame. If you ever want to call me and ask me any questions about life, and if you ever been bullied or somebody's not treating you that way, I also want you to let me know, and I'll try my best to do what I can to help you. I want to thank you for all the questions. That was not a bad question that I heard today. All your questions was great, and thank you so much for being a part of my life, and I hope I shared something that could help you down the line.
All right, and with that, we're going to wrap up this installment, the first one of this school year of the Heart of a Hall of Famer series with Gold Jacket, class of 2018 Hall of Famer, Mr. Robert Brazile. Thank you for being a part of this program. We appreciate you coming back to Canton. Thank you for all that you've done for the Hall of Fame and all that you've done for the game. I like to say, you know, the game of football wouldn't be the same today without all of our Hall of Famers impact, and most certainly wouldn't be the same without your great career that you had culminating here as a Hall of Famer. So I'm going to unmute everybody's mics here. We're going to give Mr. Brazile one last round of applause. And thank you for all right, everyone. Thank you all, everybody, for allowing us to come into the class today. I hope you guys learned a lot. And we're going to go ahead and end the program. We hope to see you one day here at the Hall of Fame here in Ohio. We'll see you guys.